I've been waiting for this day for what feels like forever, and I can't contain my excitement now. Dan Regal from the Citizens of Lorcana Podcast shared a page from the GAMA Expo program book detailing what Lorcana will be doing there. GAMA is short for the Game Manufacturers Association, and the GAMA Expo is the professional trade show of the tabletop games industry, featuring 4 days of seminars and panel discussions, review, and demos of new products. We knew on March 16th that Lorcana would be there, but didn't know what to expect. Now we know that they'll be at booth 325, where attendees can learn more about Disney Lorcana and that organized play program we've been hearing about. And here comes the exciting part. On Monday and Tuesday, April 24th and 25th, the attendees will have the opportunity to join Disney Lorcana for a short demo of the game. Remember how I said in my last video I was hoping we'd get 2 more weeks of ink identities before we would get news on gameplay? Well, if we get 1 ink identity this week and 1 next week, that leaves 1 full week open before the GAMA Expo. I think this would be a perfect time for Ravensburger to either reveal the rules and gameplay to Disney Lorcana and or drop a bunch of new cards that we'll end up seeing at the GAMA Expo for the demo. Something else that makes me lean towards knowing the rules and gameplay either at or before the GAMA Expo is this little QR code on the bottom of the page that says Learn to Play right above it. Now don't get too excited. The QR code has already been scanned and it just leads you to the Disney Lorcana website. But since we have access to the QR code, and this is the QR code attendees will be able to use in order to learn how to play the game, then we should be able to learn how to play the game as soon as they're able to. I think this all but guarantees our wait is almost over, people. I'm crossing my fingers and hoping they have some big reveal just before GAMA so everyone can watch and get excited for whatever we will hopefully see from the people attending the GAMA Expo. If you want to stay up to date on all of this and everything else Lorcana, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss anything. The last thing I have for you all is a card that Disney Lorcana revealed to us on April 1st as a little gag, which was Cheshire Cat, Not All There. They posted a video that looked like a blank card, and eventually Cheshire Cat and all of its stats show up. It's a 3-cost emerald card with a 0-3 stat line and the trait Storyborn. It has the ability Lose Something, which says when this character is challenged and banished, banish the challenging character. This seems like a pretty strong ability and one similar to Cruella, except Cruella bounces the character back to the player's hand. I'll be interested to see if there are ways in Lorcana to force a trade, because that would make cards like Cheshire Cat and Cruella even stronger. If not, they can still be strong cards because assuming Gathering Lore is the win con, if you don't challenge and banish them early, you're letting your opponent gain lore essentially for free. That 0 attack might look bad, but with its ability, it essentially has infinite attack when trading on defense. Something else really quick before I forget is that we found out Olaf has 1 lore and Jumba has 2 lore. They were found on the Shop Disney website, where we can already see you'll be able to buy Lorcana online on September 1st. So those of you who couldn't get any product at your LGS or your big box store might be able to snag some stuff here. So I don't know how they do it, but every time I seem to write out a script for a video and record it, Disney Lorcana decides to drop a new card the next day. Most recently, they revealed a new card, Maurice, world famous inventor. He's a 6-cost sapphire card with a 2/7 stat line and has the traits Dreamborn, Mentor, and Inventor. He has the ability Give It a Try, which says whenever Maurice quests, you pay 2 resources less for the next item you play this turn. He also has another ability called It Works that says when you play an item, you may draw a card. There's so much to unpack with this card. First thing and most exciting in my opinion is that questing is finally confirmed. Questing is a sort of gameplay mechanic / theory that's been speculated very early on based on a quote from Ryan Miller. I've covered this theory a little bit in past videos, which I'll link in the description, but the idea is that the win condition for Lorcana is being the first person to gain a certain number of lore instead of being the first person to have a certain number of lore in play. You would gain this lore by sending certain characters on quests, and if they succeed, then you would gain the amount of lore on their card. This is where the questing theory tends to split between people who think questing resolves instantly and is completed by tapping your character, and people who think you tap a character to start their quest, then the opponent has the ability to challenge your questing characters and stop them from completing their quest. I could talk all day about why I think questing will be instant, but ultimately it doesn't matter because we're gonna know gameplay by the end of the month. Regardless, it's very exciting to see that questing is definitely a mechanic in Lorcana, even if we don't know exactly what it means yet. The second thing I want to note is that Maurice has a new trait called Mentor. He's the first mentor we've seen in the first chapter, so I'll be interested to know what the synergies around that keyword will be. Maurice is also the second inventor after Jumba Jukiba, Renegade Scientist, and now I think it's safe to say inventors might be geared towards item cards and manipulating cost or how many times those item cards can be used per turn, for for example. I personally absolutely love both Maurice and Jumba as characters. For those of you that don't know, my day job is actually being an engineer, so the inventor thing is really fun for me, and I can't wait to explore this archetype fully in the first chapter as well. I know we don't know gameplay yet, but I have to say Maurice looks really strong to me. He's got beefy stats, so it's very likely he's going to stick to the board, and he not only discounts one of your item cards per turn after questing, but he also draws you a card every time you play an item card. He's kind of like the Stitch Rockstar, but for item cards, except he doesn't require shift, and you still might get to use the item cards the turn you play them, where Stitch requires you to exert the 2-cost card to get your card draw. The only items we have so far are Magic Mirror and White Rabbit's Pocket Watch, and it's hard to tell how good or bad either of these cards are right now, so I can't wait to see what other item cards come up, because Maurice is definitely on my list to keep watch of now. With Maurice's reveal, Disney Lorcana gave us the Sapphire Ink identity, telling us that brilliant Sapphire Glimmers like to use the best tool for the job. This is obviously a nod at Maurice being an inventor and using tools and items, but I feel like this hint could be taken two ways. The first one is the obvious one by assuming that Sapphire will have a lot of item cards at their disposal to use for the necessary situation, but like I said earlier, the only item cards we've seen are Amethyst, and when we take a closer look, I wonder if this really means Sapphire will have a wide range of options regarding card abilities and mechanics to use when they need to. In my video, I mentioned how Sapphire Ink looked like an ink that was almost like a counter ink. All of the Sapphire cards we've seen so far, other than Maurice, have abilities that seem to do something to stop your opponent from doing what they were doing. Robin Hood counters evasive decks, Aurora gives everything ward, and Scar reduces the attack of another character so that you can favorably trade into it. It makes me wonder if Sapphire will be more of a toolbox ink that'll have a bunch of resources available to counter different deck strategies that are popular in the meta, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. I think that's everything I've got so far. We're on the home stretch now, and I'll be eagerly waiting for rules in 2 weeks, if not sooner. So as soon as we know the rules and have enough cards to play, I'm hoping to put together some sort of regular tournament eventually, so be looking out for that. You can always stay immediately up to date with Lorcana news by following me on Twitter at B224YT, where I'll post something as soon as I have news. Otherwise, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss any new videos. Give this one a like if you enjoyed it or found it useful. Tell me whether you think we'll see gameplay before or during GAMA in the comments. And most importantly, don't forget to take care of yourselves. I'll see you in the next one.